Cold and snowy, though. In fact, we've got warmer temperatures, and Dr. Navarro is here to talk about rain and storms on the way to the southeast.
Yeah, there's going to be some showers coming for many areas here across the south. A little bit of energy coming from a cutoff low here that's over Baja California at the moment. It's going to surge upwards here towards the northeast as it's being kicked out of the way by the next dip in the jet stream that's heading through. But as it passes through, it's going to tilt a little bit. It's going to turn and take on that negative tilt that we talked about yesterday, the difference between the two, and that can help to create a surface low down near the surface, obviously, and help to contribute to some increased wind shear in the area, which could be a threat for some severe thunderstorms near the Texas and Louisiana border. So this is going to be Saturday into Saturday night. That's going to be the greatest threat for the severe weather. And again, it's going to be mostly here, southeast Texas, southwestern Louisiana. We can't rule out the possibility for some brief spin-ups because we do have that low-level rotation. But for the rest of the south and the southeast, it's just going to be showers. We could be seeing some heavier downpours at times, 1 to 2 inches likely. We could be seeing ones above that. But again, looking at these ingredients here for Saturday night, notice we do have a couple mediums in the high, giving us that idea that we could be seeing some more severe type thunderstorms moving through. But Alex, this is welcome rainfall because a lot of these areas have been really dry so far this year. And looks like areas along the Gulf Coast here are going to be receiving the most with that southwesterly flow bringing in the moisture from the ocean.
1, 2, even 2 to 3 inches of rain. So it could be a soggy period. I guess second to last weekend to shop before Christmas, because Christmas on a Monday. So you still have next weekend. But if you're going this weekend, be prepared. It's going to be raining out there in those mall parking lots. Well, here's what's still on tap on Weather Underground. Snowiest in U.S., White Christmas, and start this to talk about what's helping to ease that chill.
Yeah, so that bridge and the jet stream that's been over the west coast of the U.S. has finally broken down. But before it eventually makes its exit, it's going to cross over the rest of the U.S. and help to bring these above average temperatures here for much of the south and the southeast. Unfortunately, much of the southwest and the southern part of California is still quite warm, not really getting in on these warm, colder temperatures that are coming through, unfortunately, with this big dip. But that cold air that's been over the east coast is on its way out, and that's going to allow some warmer temperatures to come up from the south here. So places like Atlanta, Alabama, even up north to Tennessee and North Carolina, maybe even Virginia, getting up into the 50s and 60s as we look towards next week for your Monday and Tuesday. This is going to feel really different compared to what we've been having. One of the most notable places here is Chicago. The 26 was the high today. Yeah, that's awful, you know.
But then we're going to 46 next week.
Yeah, 20-degree difference. I mean, this is going to feel like spring. You know, in a lot of these places, it just plummets, just a crash of temperatures here again heading into next week. So this is too much. You know, in my opinion.
Go up the roller coaster only to come plummeting right back down. So for Chicago, it's much more whiplashy, not necessarily as dramatic in Atlanta.
No, not so much. We will see a little bit of up and down here. Some more colder temperatures to come on Friday, but then after that, things really pick up and we surge back up into the upper 60s for the most part and remain that way through the end of next week. So warmer temperatures on the way for next week, but if we look ahead towards Christmas week, big changes on the lookout because look at all that blue now coming across much of the northern tier and even maybe dipping down towards the northern part of Texas.
More shots of cold coming, a very transitive pattern.
Yes.
We've got a lot of changes coming, and that's something that people are thinking about because White Christmas, of course, the question in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And it may bring us some more opportunities for more people now for White Christmas. But if you take a look at what climatology is telling us, though, Dr. Navarro, some places aren't getting as many chances for a White Christmas as they once did.
Yeah, and it's amazing how notable these changes really are. Because you look at a place like Denver.
Punch cloud. And it's actually maybe a little bit more frequent than you think, Dr. Navarro, with us to explain this. It takes a very certain set of circumstances, though, for this to happen.
Yeah, you need absolutely the right conditions to be moving on in the atmosphere, and you need super cooled water. Now, that is water that is lower than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, but doesn't form into ice just yet. That's liquid that stays that cold. It can actually remain that way because it needs a surface to freeze upon. So you get all this super cooled water that's lofted up high in the atmosphere. And this is well above in the cirrus layer. These most commonly occur above layers of altocumulus, a thick deck of clouds in the cirrus above it.
All right, so what happens here?
So we've got this layer of super cooled water up in the atmosphere. Now, again, we need a surface. We need something to freeze upon. So you often see these near and around airports because planes can often create these clouds in their wake. So I'll explain that in just a second. So let's say you get a few ice crystals to form here in this layer of super cooled water. Now, if you were these ice crystals, you'd look around and see all of these water drops and you say, hey, it's super saturated up here. There's too much stuff going on, and it needs to condense out. So what ends up happening is that the super cooled water starts to evaporate in the atmosphere at its own expense. So the ice crystals then begin to grow, get a lot bigger, because now all this water is condensing on the ice crystals, and then eventually these guys fall out of the cloud. So you get these cool little streaks coming on underneath the cloud, but then all this blue layer goes away and you're left with basically a hole in the cloud layer in the sky, which leads to those crazy clouds that you see. There's nothing in the sky above you, right? It's just like you look up and you say, wait a second. This
literally,
is
like
odd.
the bottom fell out.
Yeah,
in
literally.
essence. But planes, you said, can play a role in this too.
Yes. So remember how I said you need those ice crystals. If there's nothing going on, if there's only that super cold water in the sky, it'll stay that way. Amazingly, it has nothing to freeze upon. So when the planes move in, the planes move forward by pushing the air behind them. So what happens is when that air lifts up and over the wings of the plane, that actually creates a lower pressure here on top of the plane's wings. That low pressure is enough to cause those ice crystals to freeze. In a lot of cases, they just need a little bit of a kick because otherwise they're not cold enough. They just stay as they are. So then you start getting these little ice crystals that form, and that's all it takes to create this domino effect, essentially. This happens very quickly, is that all that air then begins to evaporate, the water condenses on the ice crystals, and the ice crystals grow.
So basically, if a plane is ascending through this cloud layer or descending through that cloud layer, it's the wake behind the wings or the props of the plane that create then all the crystallization.
That's right. So that's,
and out it comes.
And out it comes. And so that's why you often see these about 4 miles.
Last week, it was something to see.
Miami, though, they're going to be a little shell-shocked. They don't want 33
I'm
degrees
sure
and
Miami
rain.
doesn't want to play in 33 and rain. I don't know anyone that
Can it just
Can we
snow?
just go to 32 and snow?
Yeah.
We're much better in that.
Yeah, 33 and rain is the worst.
Absolutely. No, hands down, you know, anybody sits you down and says, what's the worst weather in the world? Cold, cold rain.
You got it. How about warm rain?
We've got warm rain coming, Dr. Navarro. Parts of the southeast, you know, they had that big snow event courtesy of Benji last week, and they're thinking, all right, do we get more? Do we get more? No, temperatures are actually going to warm up. And severe weather could be an issue. Yeah,
we're looking at the Gulf Coast, some severe storms coming into play. We've got some ingredients here high on the shear for this one, which could create some low-level rotation. So be on the lookout for that Saturday into Saturday night, southeast Texas, southwestern Louisiana. We could be seeing some severe storms in that area. But we're going to have a little bit of energy moving through the region and a bit of a front coming through. Here's that area we're watching for that severe weather again, Saturday night into Sunday. It's going to lift off fairly quickly, but notice how these showers just kind of linger and stick around here Monday and even into Tuesday. You can see them just kind of moving around a bit here near the Gulf Coast, not really going away. That's the European model. If you look at the GFS, it's moving the system in a little bit more quickly, but it's still keeping the showers around a little bit more. And notice that breadth in the area of showers increases. So, Alex, we could be seeing a decent amount of rainfall out of this one, depending on how long those showers really stick around.
Yeah, so a rainy period as we get into the last few days, you know, before Christmas. People on the roads traveling, people out there shopping, of course, deliveries they're trying to get done. We could be looking at a good soaking down near the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, 2 to 3 inches of rain potentially. Again, this is a lot coming down at once. So keep an eye out for this. It's not going to be the best weekend here, but all rain. It's too warm to really be any snowfall. So just keep an eye out for that. It will even move off to the north here into the Ohio and Tennessee Valley. But this is the area we watch for severe weather this time of the year. So not out of the question, but very low probability.
All right. Thanks so much for the info, Dr. Navarro. We're going to keep a close eye on this. We've got much more ahead on Weather Underground. Well, there are some places in the U.S. that are notorious for snow.
Indeed they are. Meteorologist Jen Carfagno shows us the snowiest places in the country.